Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. I hope to hear from some of you. I hope some of you would decide to call into the show so that we can really have a good talk here. This is a very important subject that we're going to be talking about today. The title of the show, as you see, actually the title of the show, I don't have it pulled up. So therefore, as I jabber, and gibber, let me go ahead and pull the show up because, as I said, actually, let me give you another confession. 2 days in a row. 2 days in a row. 2 days in a row. Guess what I did, folks? 2 days in a row. What I did is today I have a better excuse in that I had three things occurring at the same time. I had to run across to one side of town, get some business done, and then come back to this side of town and get some other business done. And then as I try to get as much as I could of the blog of the week. But guess what? It's right here so we can talk about it. And I want you to engage with it. And not only do I want you to engage with it, I want you to comment about it. And I don't want you to only comment about it. If you will, it would be great if you would call into the show at 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. I would so love to hear from many of you. Anyway, the title of the show today is They Designed Our Economic System to Prevent Most from Achieving, and Here is Why. And it is important for you to understand this. You know, we go through a lot of tribulations. We go through a whole lot in this country. We have people telling us every time something happens where we don't succeed, every time something happens with the economy, every time something happens, we always have a rationale for it. And it is never because of the design of the economic system that we are in dire straits, right? If you take a look at what is causing the problems in this country, never ever do we ever think that it just may be not us, but the way things were designed, the way things were set up. And guess what I have to tell you, folks? It's not you. We were designed. We were designed. I don't want to say designed to fail because it's not what really what they want. They don't want us. And when I say they, right, who I'm talking about are the creators, or I shouldn't call it creators anymore because this was created a long time ago, the enforcers of our economic system. That's who I'm talking about, the enforcers of our economic system. A lot of people just decide to believe that this is just the way things are. That, you know, you buy, you sell things, you have a corporation, the corporate entities control every way of your life, etc. And I know some of this may sound like cliche, but what I'm going to try to do today is not be of cliche, but try to explain to you why it is that the reality is it has to be this way for the Plutocrats to be who they are. It's interesting because as I was writing this stuff and posting some of this stuff on Facebook, Move to Amend, the Utah Move to Amend, which is an organization I was once a board director of, somebody put a meme out, right? And the meme said that the meme had under it, it had two guys. It had a worker, an employee, sitting down at a small table with a few empty plates, with plates that are empty, no food, right? And then you had a huge man with Plutocrat. If you go to my Facebook wall, you see a huge man and a plate full of dollars, and he has a fork, and he's sticking the fork into the dollars, and he's just munching them all up. And then underneath it says that the lead is, when plunder becomes a way of life for a group of men in a society, over the course of time, they create for themselves a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it. That one sentence, I think I'm going to rip off for the article that I'm writing. It's going to turn into today's blog of the week, today's incomplete blog of the week, because ultimately it will be located at Daily Kos Sunday sometime when I'm done writing it. But what I'm going to do today is read the beginnings of it. But I want to get into a little chatter with you before I get to that. Look, I want to repeat that again. It says, when plunder becomes a way of life for a group of men in a society, over the course of time, they create for themselves a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it. And what exactly does that mean? It means this. It means they can't lose. They will never lose. Those people who, remember the recession, or I call it the depression of 2008? These guys corrupted the system. These guys lost all people's monies. They lost their own as well, and they froze up the economic system. And look, one of the issues that people didn't understand is what happened here, right? And I want to give, before I get into the blog of the week, I want you to understand this, because in understanding this, you'd have less sympathy, and people can less try to convince you that these guys were okay in the things that they did. So one of the biggest things that they did, they created these things called derivatives. Some of them called credit default swaps and all these kinds of instruments. And what these were, and don't run. Don't hear those words and run. Please stay with me, because it's simple. It is so simple to understand this. They try to make it seem like it is difficult, so that all of those people who are not plutocrats, all those people who are not the titans of finance, think that those guys that wear suits and go into Houston and go into New York and go into all these places with these three-piece suits on, somehow they deserve the money that they're earning. They don't. What they do is of no importance at all. And I will repeat that to the greatest economist. I will repeat, and by the way, folks, tomorrow, guess who's on? Tomorrow we have Dr. Richard Wolff on, the economist Richard Wolff that you see on, that's always interviewed by Thom Hartman and Amy Goodman and others. He will be with us live for the entire hour tomorrow. So we have another great show. I wanted to preempt that show with kind of instructing folks on some of the issues related to our form of economics. But anyhow, I want to tell you what happened, a part of what brought down our system in 2008. And this is important for you to understand, right? These guys make nothing, but they made paper. They did things like this. Let me give you some of the things that they did. They go ahead and they gave they wanted to sell a whole bunch of homes, but turned it into instruments, financial instruments. So what they would do is they will finance people they know can't afford homes. It's not only, but here's the deal. A lot of people think it is all those darn people that really couldn't afford the house, and they bought more houses than they could afford. But that wasn't the only thing. There were a lot of investors as well, that what they did is they bought homes, depended on the homes appreciated in value, unloaded the home. They knew they were never going to pay those things back, and pocketed all the money that they got for the loan for that home that got appreciated. So I knew quite a few people. In fact, I had a friend. And when I tell you this, you know, I worked hard my entire life. I built my product. I created my product. I sold my product. I did all these things with the product. This friend came to my home one time and he said, you know what, Egberto? I bought a house in Las Vegas. I said, really? Yeah. He said, yeah. He said, I bought it. I bought it for, and here's how it worked. He bought a house that was worth something like a couple $100,000. He took out a loan of $500,000 on the home because he got someone to appreciate the home at $500,000. And of course, you know, those bankers had to know that. And then he took that $300,000 and invested it into his business. By the way, my business was built on credit card debt, 19, 20, 21% in the days that I built it, in all those days. Okay? But here he got these low mortgages that he never intended to pay back. And I looked at him straight in the eye, because when he said he took the other money out and put it into his company, I looked at him and I said, you don't ever intend to pay back the loan, right? And he never said no. He just smirked, but he never paid back that loan. Well, here's the deal. All the papers that he took out and other people took out on homes that did that kind of thing, they didn't only buy homes to live in. They bought homes to take money out of. The same thing that you saw Mitt Romney do by extracting money out of Toys R Us and all that. It's these evil form of manipulations of money. Okay, so these guys, to go ahead and give these loans, what they then did is they sold those loans. And again, I'm telling you, this isn't rocket science. This is simple. This isn't even engineering, okay? This isn't scientists. So they go ahead and they say, okay, I have a loan from A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Let's call Amos, Andy, and all these people have loans. Each of these guys have different credit ratings. They gave loans to people that had horrendous credit, no credit, terrible credit, okay? But they also gave loans to people that had great credit. So what they did is they packetized that. They said, okay, we will split these loans into a whole bunch of pieces. So nobody held all of a good loan or all of a bad loan. And then they chop that up and sell those as derivatives. They sell those as some other financial instruments that had some rate of growth, right? So as people pay their mortgages, those things, they pay dividends and all that kind of stuff as well. But here's the kicker. If you start to do that where you have a preponderance of poor credit people in those packetized instruments, eventually those instruments go bad. And that is exactly what happened. So it froze up the credit market because of what happened. A lot of these instruments, for people to buy them, they got insurance for them, right? So they go to insurance company A and said, I want to insure in case this bond craters, I am made whole by the insurance company. Insurance company said, okay, yeah, I'll sell you that. So they sold that. And that insurance then goes to insurance B and says, okay, I need to cover in case that loan goes bad. But here's what happens. You get the circular arc of destruction, the fallen cards, right? Because if insurance company A insures company B, insures company C, and then C insures A, what happens? If A falls, B pays A. If B falls, C pays B. And if C falls, A has to pay C. But A has no money because B wasn't able to pay because C couldn't pay B. And A is the one who's... So it freezes up. These geniuses of capitalism, that is what they did. And there are all these kinds of funny manipulations that these people did. And, they wear their suits as if they're doing something that's important and that's going to make life easier for people. So that is what happened. And we have that over and over again. So we have all these people that make money off of money, off of money, off of money, but do absolutely nothing for society. They create nothing. They do nothing, right? So what happened to those people? Niet, nada. Even the ones that committed fraud in the process. What happened? Nothing. Nothing happened to these people. That picture again that I showed on the screen, right? Greed, greed, greed. But anyhow, we always talk about greed. So what is my contention? My contention again, and it's not a question, it's a statement of fact when I tell you that our economic system was designed for a few and was designed for most to fail. And when I say it was designed for most to fail, that is not hyperbole. For it to work, most people must fail. And for it to stay solvent, we have to have enough successful people who will toe the line to keep those people who continuously fail in check. I repeat, it needs to ensure you have enough successful people, and those are the people I call mostly the chosen one. Everybody think America is a meritocracy. Look, you don't have to be Not because, when I say you're the chosen one, it doesn't mean that you don't know your job, or it doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing. The chosen one means that everybody can't be chosen. It means that everybody who has the ability cannot be chosen, and that's why I'm saying it's not a meritocracy. It's a system that depends on choosing those who are going to join the club of success, and we leave the others to Peter Patter. Now, we gave people a semblance of improvement. All during the 60s and 70s, we had real improvement because unions and all these guys made people, forced companies to have to give more of the spoils. But as Reagan came in 1980, what happened? What happened is we dissolved that. We started to reduce tax rates, and we'll go into that thereafter and how that really destroyed the system. But folks, what I have to explain is that the absolute reason why we cannot have a system like this and people be successful, it is impossible from a mathematical standpoint. And I'm sure tomorrow when I have economist Richard Wolff on, he'll explain to you something that I learned from him. I went to see him a long time ago on a talk that he gave called Capitalism Hits the Fan, I think it was called, or something like that. And that is because if you take a look at the curve, what we had for a very long time is the semblance of prosperity, because what we did is as we continued to move all of the monies upwards, we kept the semblance of prosperity by going completely and entirely into debt. So what I want to do right now is say, let's get into the program proper. Title of the program today: They designed our economic system to prevent most from achieving, and here is why. I repeat, they designed our economic system to prevent most from achieving, and here is why. And the subtitle is, They continue to fool and play us all. Our economic system was not designed for most to succeed. It could not support that lest it fail quicker as it ultimately will. This system is unsustainable. That's not a question. It's behaving exactly as we said it would. Those of us who later on in life decided to study this thing realized that this economy is doing everything scientifically that it ought to do, that many would hope it holds out as long as it can, but the numbers are absolute. And that is the difference between, let's say, engineers, scientists, and somebody indoctrinated with an MBA, or somebody indoctrinated with a form of how the system works, but don't really go to the guts of math in understanding what it is. And not only that, a lot of when in engineering we have things called heat sinks, right? For you to have a combustion engine in your car, for your car to work, you have to have a differential in temperatures, right? So that you get expansion, you can dissipate that heat into the sink, so that you get a differential in temperature again, that you can get expansion, and that continues to occur. We have a heat sink in our atmosphere that stays pretty stable. I know when you hear, oh, how can 0 degrees to 120 degrees be stable? Well, that's fairly stable, and you can actually dump heat and get heat. And if you take a look at how air conditioners work and all of that, that's how they work, on the differential in temperatures, right? You have deep heat sink. For a very long time, the heat sink for America has been the world. What I mean is that we could have and do the things that we did the way we did it. We could overcompensate a whole lot of people. In other words, give a lot of people a ton of money. And the reason we could do that is because we could still give the middle class in America enough to keep them passive, because we were screwing everybody else. The West was screwing everybody else, so you could have a higher standard of living for the masses in your country, while the Plutocrats took the absolute most of it. But, and I repeat, but In a uniting world, that is not possible anymore. Because the masses see the American masses and how they live, and they want it too. And as they get it, who pays? The plutocrats continue to want their 7 to 12% increase yearly in their wealth attainment. They want to keep that. So the only other place it goes or it's taken out of is from the masses, and that is exactly what is occurring. Let me do this. I'm going to go into the show, and then I'm going to explain to you how the heat sink, the rest of the world, is no longer there to suck up for the rich from taking away from the masses in America. But anyway, so the subtitle, they continue to fool and play us all. Our economic system was not designed for most to succeed. It could not support that lest it fails quicker as it ultimately will. It is time to get real. We have allowed the plutocrats to play us, fool us, and distract us. They have created an environment and a narrative that have Americans fighting each other on their behalf. The funny thing is that we have nothing in common with them. The people in Appalachia, the people in the ghettos, the people in the barrios, they have more in common with each other than we all have with the plutocrats. And the saving grace for the plutocrats are the chosen ones, the guardians of the gates of the plutocracy. And folks, I live among the guardians of the gates of the plutocracy, all good people. Folks who simply don't understand the pecking order and the place that they play in keeping 80% of the country down. They are responsible for ensuring that we can't get policy that not normalizes but fairizes, making things more egalitarian. They are the guardians of that door to the plutocracy. And let me tell you, people, you don't understand what wealth is. Most people don't understand what wealth is. Your neighbor that has a couple of $1 million ain't wealthy. Your neighbor with 5 or 10 millions, they are okay. The kind of wealth we're talking about, people, is a wealth that can build countries. Bezos with $160 billion, Gates with over $100 billion. That is the kind of monies that a lot of people now have, the billionaires, okay? And the thing about it, you always say, we've been taught to believe that they earned it. We've been taught to believe that, well, they worked hard, they came out with something innovative that gave them that up. Forget it, it's not true. You were indoctrinated into believing that somehow they were worthy of that and you were not. And that somehow, just maybe if you work hard enough, you will attain that. So you bust your ass. You work hard. And most people out there, they work hard. And I'm not talking about the bombs that you see on the street that you can use as an excuse for people who don't work. I'm talking about the average American citizen that go to work 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, thinking that if I work hard enough, someday maybe I can attain this. You will never. Because the system does not allow that to occur. The system does not allow that to occur unless you are the chosen. And there are many chosens now. 20% of 300 million people is a lot of people. And they're chosen in different levels of gradations, from executives all the way down to, good laborers, etc. You have to really, and the thing about it is nobody teaches you this in high school. Nobody teaches you this in college. You don't get this in economics. You don't get any of this, right? Because the system has already indoctrinated us to just pick in a particular order. And whenever we go for an interview and 20 people apply for that same job and 1 out of 20 people who are qualified get it, it's like, yay, I got the job. I got the job. I got it. The chosen. But 20 other people could do the job. And 20 other people are going to sit down there with less than what they're worth because you got that job. But it's not your fault that you got that job, and there's nothing wrong with you taking that job. What is wrong is that others can't have other means to make the kind of money that they are warranted for the work that they put in, which is no different than the work you put in. See? An economic system where it's not, they tell you it's a meritocracy, it's not. It's a system of the chosen. It's a system of those who have price and power. So let me get into the story now. For us to make a change, we must first understand the pathology of the masters of the economic system under which we live. After understanding it, we can see why the masses will never succeed. Since the 70s, we have had a 400% increase in productivity. Under that scenario, every American citizen should only have to work 10 hours a week. Remember, our productivity, we have started making things, and I don't mean productivity in the aggregate, I mean on a per capita productivity, 400%. Therefore, we should be working a hell of a lot less, or we should have a hell of a lot more of the income. In other words, instead of Jeff Bezos having $160 billion, he should have maybe $1 billion and that other $159 billion split out between all the other folks because of the increase in productivity that we have allowed the system to have. We the people. The engineers who design the machines that can make things more productive. The taxes that the masses paid to pay for that engineer, to help that engineer because he got to a school, a public school, a school that uses roads and trails and rails and everything to get people there. The investment that society has made in these universities and colleges, whether private or public. So all these other people take advantage of these spoils, right? But they maximize the income for a few. Folks, it's a different way of thinking, folks. It's really a different way of thinking. I want you to realize that we have to be very cognizant of what we're doing. We must be very cognizant of what we're learning. But most importantly, we must learn. More importantly, we cannot continue to buy the Kool-Aid. Okay? We can't continue to buy the Kool-Aid. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to say, folks, do you know what time it is? And it's
time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do because I'm not done with the blog post. So what I'm going to do is read up to where I am, and then because I have to go ahead and finish this for Sunday. Actually, I have to post it tonight, and then it'll be on the front page of Daily Coast on Sunday. But let me read what I've done so far. The title of it is, Our Economic System Depends on Your Path to Mediocrity. Again, our economic system depends on your path to mediocrity. And it goes like this. It is hard to accept. But our economic system is not one where the best succeed, nor is it a meritocracy. The marketing of our system is excellent. It has always been great. We use phrases like, we are exceptional. We are the greatest country in the world. And many other phrases I cannot think about right now. But how can we be the greatest? We don't have the best healthcare system. We don't have... Our life expectancy isn't greater than many other countries in the world. In fact, many other countries in the world's life expectancy is greater than ours. Many other countries in the world, when they are polled, are more happy than we are. So we're the greatest country in the world. We're 17 or 18 other countries that people are happier than we are. Do you want to be happy, or do you want to be able to say you're the greatest country in the world because you have the biggest damn military on the planet? And that nobody will be able to mess with you because you can blow them to smithereens. You know, we can do that. We as Americans are the strongest, most powerful country in the world. We can blow up anything. We can destroy the world. Well, I guess in that regards, we're exceptional. But ask yourself the question, where humans are concerned, what is most important? What is most important is whether you're happy or not. As someone with a business, a software company that's doing very well, who decided to say, you know what, I think it is time for us to go ahead and, or it's time for me, I'm not us, for me, to start doing the altruistic thing, which is, man, things are really bad for most. And you know what? I know all this technological stuff. I know how to do this media stuff. Could I be someone who go out there and try to inform in a way that's not being done right now, with the expectation that I will still be able to maintain? Somebody had to do it, right? A lot of people, there are a lot of people that are stepping up to the plate now because they understand that if many of us don't step up right now, we're going to hell faster than we think. But Americans are smart. If they're allowed to be smart, they're smart. If they're allowed to be smart. So, what we are, we're not the greatest or the most exceptional country in the world because our people are not the best regarded. Our people are not the smartest. Our people, none of that is true. Now, the smartest people who have options do come here. I'm not going to doubt that. Or I shouldn't say the smartest. I say a lot of the smartest people do come here. But most of them are elsewhere, right? China, France, Japan. I mean, they have great engineers and scientists doing a whole lot of things as well. So it is sort of arrogant to say that. But anyway, what we are is the greatest accumulator of wealth in the world. We market our method of attaining said wealth as benevolent, but if we ever decided to look at reality, it would paint a very, very different picture. It is important to note that the overwhelming majority of our systems are citizens are wonderful people trying to survive. They're wonderful people who don't necessarily always understand exactly how this system works because they just have to go to work every day. They just want to survive. They don't want to have the complexity of these thoughts. They don't want the complexity of thinking, this is how the system works and this is how it has screwed me or whatever. Because you know what? All their lives, they've just been taught, go to school, finish, get a job, make enough money, take care of your family. And if things are going to remain that way, right? If things were going to stay that way, it would be, we could tolerate that a hell of a lot of money is going to the top people who decide that they want to be fight that way, and also we'd allow that chosen mentality to work if at least people could think that they have enough. But no, it's never that way. We market our method of attaining said wealth as benevolent, but if we ever decided to look at our reality, it would paint a very different picture. It is important to note that the overwhelming majority of citizens, like I said, are very good people. Very good people. Most people have good hearts, even as we are all to some degree indoctrinated by the system created by a select few. And one of the things I like to say is, people always talk about the founding fathers and how great they were and what they were thinking of, but yet only 5% of Americans could vote. Because in writing the Constitution, which is really a capital document, in writing these things, property played a big role. And the people who had the right to vote were property owners. We always talk about men, and the reality of the matter is we've evolved into being better, but not best yet. And that is things that we have to understand. We have to understand that, we continuously get better, but now we're backsliding. But again, we've all been indoctrinated into this system, into believing that, these are the way things have got to be. So, currently, some Americans treat those who are attempting to get into this country for a better life for themselves and their children like subhumans. They treat them like animals. They talk about them. They demean them. Thankfully, many of our citizens understand that the evil emanating from some of our fellow citizens is ill-advised and hypocritical. All non-native Americans or immigrants or descendants of immigrants during and after the nation's formative times of this country. Ironically, our initial settlers came to take the land via plunder, conquer, and murder in the name of the King and the Lord. Those coming today are just seeking a job for a better life, nothing else. They're not coming to say, I want to take over the land. They're not saying they're coming to throw people off the land and take their land and do whatever they will with it. That's not who they are. The people who have settled this land are the ones who've done that. They're the ones who cleared out the natives. They're the ones who killed. They're the ones who moved people around. They're the ones who enslaved. They're the ones who enslaved the Chinese with the Pacific Railroad. They're the ones who did all these things, not the folks that are trying to get over here now. So how hypocritical it is for many of us to go ahead and look at these other people who are just coming for a job and stating, and demeaning them, making them look subhuman because they're coming for a better life. Isn't that what the Pilgrims came here for? But did they have their papers? Did they ask those people who were already sitting on those lands for permission to stay? Or did they kill them? So let's be honest here, folks. When people talk about the violence coming from those brown people coming up from Central America, there are several perspectives. And all of that plays into the wealthy. All of that plays into the economic system that we're talking about. There has always been a bifurcated hierarchy. One real and one imaginary. And what do I mean by that? In America, everybody is held to or wants to believe that if you work hard, you're going to make it. If you work hard enough, you'll definitely make it. But that's not true. That is an absolute, documentable, if that's a word, falsehood. You can be the best, and if you're not chosen, you're nobody. And that goes even for, a lot of times even for if you have a small business. See, I'm for small businesses. I'm for free enterprise. You have a whole lot of small businesses. And if you have to be too big to create a necessity, that particular entity does not belong in the private sector. Like, I don't think oil companies belong in the private sector. I don't think utilities belong in the private sector. I don't think so. The baker, the store owner, the maker of products, groceries, all of that belong in the private sector because you can have tons of them and you have people growing all over the place and they're giving you value, and not only value they're giving you, but they're exchanging. That belongs in the private sector. But there are certain things where people are pilfering us. First of all, the oil any oil in this country should belong to us all. So why is it just the shareholders of that oil company that is going to get the spoils? And folks are going to say, well, there are a lot of pensions that are invested in these shares. But folks, only 10% of Americans have any substantial amount of money invested in the stock market. Don't be fooled by those types of words. Don't be fooled by those types of words. What we have is a progressive and categorical pilfer of the American land, of Americans, period. For a few. And that's why you'll never make it. I gave a long speech a few weeks ago of price and power. I used the insulin, and I repeat this often. I use the insulin story. And the reason why, for those of you who come and hear a lot of duplicative things, let's say when I talk about price and power, where I talk about insulin or whatever, one of the reasons I have to do that is we get a huge amount of people that are new every single time. I take a look at our stats and realize that we get a lot of new people as we do this. It's a big sphere, so there are times that I have to repeat some of the things that I say because there are two things that happens here. One is people don't stay for the whole hour. They stay for 4 or 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And what we do is we sometimes try to get the whole picture. And, a lot of people, some of the people come back and read and listen to the videos or listen to the podcast or the videos later on. But we have to realize that what we have here, right, is about price and power. But before I get into that, earlier on I mentioned about the world being the heat sink. And that needed some more explanation, and why it is that Americans will never ever grow. I mentioned in the prologue to this that we've increased productivity a whole lot. Let's keep America closed right now. Let's assume America was closed. With that type of productivity increase, a lot more people would be first of all, would have full employment, and so much so that we would have to. We would have low employment, which means with the same amount of work being done. So what it means is that what we could do is simply go ahead and have what we call 10-hour weeks, right? People work 10 hours, they have a whole lot of leisure time thereafter. But we don't think like that, right? We do not think like that. What do we do? We go ahead and say, okay, we have productivity gains. We either lay people off that we don't need, instead of saying let's just cut everybody hours and increase their pay based on the productivity that we have. And then the spoils from that increase in productivity and less expenses go to the top. That's what we do. So therefore, all the technology that went into increasing productivity that came from us all, the taxpayer, the workers, the engineers, all these folks, the Plutocrats, the people who couldn't build a computer if you begged them to, the people who know nothing about math, who know nothing about computer systems, who know nothing about physics, are the ones who benefit the most from all the technologies we create. And then when we are done creating technologies that make humanity better, because it's a system where those with the capital control, they take the spoils. That's why we say this economic system is designed for you to fail. The other thing is here. Why is it designed for you to fail? You cannot have in this system where every year, every time or continuously, the people with capital, they're not just happy to have capital appreciate with, let's say, inflation. They want capital that increases at some odd crazy rate, 7%. Well, for the passbook saver, they're getting 0.25% on their money for returns. But it's worse, right? Because the economy as a whole, the entire economy, right now it's only growing at 2%, 2.1, 2.2%. So if these returns, look at the stock market and you see how these returns are going crazy. The only place those returns can come from, whether it's appreciation, dividend pays, or all these things, has to come from you. And there are many ways to get it from you. And let's go with let's go with a hospital, right? Inflation, non-existent. But at the same time, the people who own capital, which means they have shares in the hospitals, they have share in the drug companies, etc., what do they want to do? They want a return on their investment, 7-8%. How is the only way to get that? There's no inflation, right? Or is next to no inflation. So what they do is they just increase price. Remember the stories that I gave, the write-up I did on price and power, the video I did on price and power. What these guys say is the following. Okay, I have to give my investors this is how capitalism works. You own stocks, capital, and this is how it works. I need to give my people a 7% return. How am I going to attain a 7% return? The only way I can do that is to go to the people who don't have price and power, the people who must use my services. In the case of a hospital, we have to increase the price of the MRI. We have to increase the price of the insulin. We have to increase the price of anything. These things have not changed in price. The raw material have not gotten any better. In fact, it's cheaper to make them. But their prices still go up. Why do their prices go up? Because we have to give this return to the plutocrats. So therefore, you know, the workers, they bang and they scream and they ask for a raise. They ask for more money. And the plutocrat says, okay, let's appease them. Let's give them a raise. But guess what happens after that? The price of bread, the price of jam, the price of eggs, the price of your furniture, the price of your clothes all go up. So they give you a break, and I'm coming to the phone right now. They give you a break, and after they give you that break, guess what happens? They take it right back away and increase their value. Okay, telephone number 209, come on in.
Hey, Berto, Sally here.
Hey, Sally, talk to me.
Capitalism, and now I am free to name the company that I used to work for and tell you exactly my experience with capitalism.
Let me hear it.
The company is Westat, Westat. Google them. They are a global social science research firm.
Okay.
Okay. I was hired as a data collector in 2005. At that time that I was hired for a data collector, they had a pay scale with 3 categories, and a $2. If you were bilingual, you got $2 more an hour, but everybody made the same wage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it was posted. It was posted at our DC share site where we go to for information and all of that. Well, as states and started raising their minimum wage, well, actually what happened is we got a new CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And as states started raising their minimum wage, all of a sudden this pay scale disappears, and the company starts paying whatever minimum wage is where you happen to live. Now, back in 2005, when I joined the company, there were also 7 call centers strategically across the country.
Mm-hmm.
There happened to be 2 in California, northern and in the Central Valley. Well, as technology improved, they started closing these call centers and having the data collectors work from home. So what does that do right there? Look at all the overhead that eliminates.
Yes.
and at the same time, we're still making the same hourly wage. They don't compensate us for our internet connection or anything like that. Okay, so after 14 years of service with this company, in January, when minimum wage went to $12 here in California. Before that, I was at the top of the top category. I was making $11.75.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so January 1st, what do I get? A whole quarter raise. So where am I now? Excuse me, hold on. So now I'm making the same wage as a new hire.
Shame.
After all this experience that
Shame.
They can't train, you get this experience. Calling people, trying to get them to participate in these government and university studies over the phone. That takes skill, and you develop this over time. And after 14 years, I was going to earn what a new hire would earn.
That is shameful, and that is what they do. That is exactly what they do. And you know what? I was one of the things that I really kind of wanted to explain a little better is that heat sink that I spoke about with foreign workers. What I was trying to explain to here is that we could have fairly high wages here because we had low wage centers. We could subsidize sort of a whole lot of that from the rest of the world. But as the rest of the world started to ask for their own, suddenly we know who wasn't going to lose any money. The Plutocrats were not going to allow themselves to lose any money. They are going to still make the same increasing amount of income that they make. So therefore, it was imperative that the American worker get squeezed. And that when you say offshoring. Whenever you talk about offshoring a job, people look at it as like, we don't have any work here. No, what that is doing is that is making sure that the American worker is at a competitive advantage. It's not that they don't want the American worker working, is that they put the American worker at a competitive advantage, and in doing so, they reduce the further amount of money those American workers are willing to ask for. So therefore, they permanently destroy the wage scale. And you know what? We don't have to ask if that is happening anymore because it has already happened. And in the past, when Reaganomics was just coming into the fold, people could say, oh, that's not going to happen. And they could look at numbers and say, oh, look at the economy and look at the growth. What they weren't telling you is that all that growth was going in one direction. It was going to one set of people.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Because I stayed stagnant.
Right. I mean, think about it.
Everything for me is stagnant.
Check this out.
Except for the
Go ahead.
cost of living. That's always increasing, but the wages are stagnant.
Absolutely. Check this out. If one person makes $9,000 a month, and everybody else makes, or rather, if one person makes, $9,000 a month, okay? And everybody else, let's put it this way. If one person makes $11,000 a month, and everybody else makes $1,000 a month, right? That says that the average income there is $2,000 a month, right? But the reality is no, that's not the case. Or, we have to start thinking in such a manner that people don't get fooled into believing.
And you really can't listen to statistics.
Right.
I worked for the company I worked for. We made statistics, and it's so skewed. It really is.
Well,
actually a lot of the studies, they go out looking for certain answers. They make the questions, kind of to fulfill the information that they're trying.
What is
Am
interesting
I explaining
is
this?
Yes, you're explaining it perfectly. And let me tell you though, the statistics are I mean, they can present it in a. Let me give it the example that I blogged yesterday. Was the Washington Post put out a story that spoke about Americans paying more taxes for Medicare for all. I have a video that says Americans will pay more taxes for Medicare for all, and that's a good thing because they no longer will have co-pays, they no longer will have premiums. So therefore, they'll have a lot more money in their pockets. That's a fact. They'll have more money in their pockets. But what the Washington Post did is they used statistics and said they'll pay X amount more in taxes, etc. That's true. The thing about it is the context behind it. So what I try to explain to folks is no longer go out there and just say Medicare for all is good. Go out there and say Medicare for all will put more money in your pockets. Period. Medicare for all will put more money in your pockets.
Yeah, people aren't looking at it like that. All people, they hear more taxes or a little more taxes, and oh my God, but they don't realize that it's for their benefit in the long run.
And the other thing that we have to start doing is you have to have a premium, right? You have to pay your premiums. Therefore, premiums are taxes. So we should also legally and truthfully say we are reducing your taxes. It's just who's taking up the taxes are different. We need a good
somebody's
right.
profit.
We need a good marketing campaign that says you are paying several taxes. You are paying tax. We have to stop calling premiums. We need to start calling healthcare premiums taxes because you have to pay them. So we need to start calling healthcare premiums taxes, and then we can legally say, we should say this, that is why progressives need a good marketer, a good marketing campaign. You can start saying there are federal taxes and there are health insurance taxes, and the truth of the matter is, combined, we are reducing your taxes. That is what we ought to start saying. We have to say it more elegantly than I just butchered it, but we have to say it more elegantly than that.
Well, if you look at a regular pay stub of mine, the highest tax was the Medicare tax.
There you go. So we have to get there.
But we can't afford it. How can we not afford it when that's the reason you're taking the most money away from me?
Thank you. But anyway, Sally, I have to put a plug in for Politics Done Right. I haven't done a plug for the entire show, so we are almost at the end of the show, so I guess I'm going to have to end the show with a plug.
All righty. Well, it's a pleasure as always.
Thank you very much for calling in,
and
Sally.
Yeah, Google Westat.
I will do that. Throw that in the notes for me. Just throw it in the notes so that I can just check it out.
I can't right now. I'm in Facebook jail.
Oh, poor thing. What have you been doing?
I'll do it. I'll do it. I think I've got like maybe 2 or 3 hours left. After I do that, I'll send it to you.
No problem, Sally. Thank you so kindly for calling in, and you have a wonderful day. Okay.
Yeah, you as well.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
folks, please remember this is, look, we have a lot more to talk about. I have to finish writing this blog so that I can post it at Daily Kos. And always remember to go to dailykos.com, DAILYKOS.com. I also write both at egbertowillies.com, politicsdoneright.com, and dailykos.com. Of course, I have several articles at upednews.com and democraticunderground.com. Folks, please, please, please remember this is a progressive show that needs your support. I ask you to go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright, and support a program that is here attempting to open our minds and to remove. You see what's behind me? Those chains. Right now, many of our minds are still in chains because we are believing the slave. And this is the slavery of all Americans right now. We are enslaved by an economic system that means we only going to have a few people who will succeed. The chosen. I had a software company that was successful, and you know what? I consider myself then the chosen. Why? Because they could purchase my products. They decided to purchase my products over another product. Was my product necessarily and always better than the others? Sometimes so, sometimes not. But for what I'm trying to illustrate is those who have been chosen are the ones who do better. Not only that, but also when you have price and power, that is how you control the entire system. And it is a way of changing an economic model that prevent that to be the ultimate goal for success. If you take a look at corporations, when they have to pay you more, they just have to raise prices and they get back everything that they've given to you. We have to learn the concepts, and that is why in the aggregate, Americans' wages have been stagnant. No matter how much productivity, no matter how, we have to get somebody who can best explain that, who can let people understand that and empower folks, and then not only tell them the problem, but how do we get out of this problem? Next show, another show. Well, I'm going to have Dr. Richard Wolff on tomorrow. Maybe we'll discuss some solutions with Dr. Richard Wolff, but it's important that you first understand the problem. And what I would like to have is more interaction with people, because I can regurgitate a whole lot, right? But we get the best interaction if other people would ask questions and we can go back and forth, because I guarantee you, if you have a question, thousands others have that same question. But please go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Again, that is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Join the family. Please subscribe. It's very inexpensive. You have all different levels and choices. If you just want to give a contribution, please go to politicsdoneright.com and click on donate, or one of the buttons there. I don't quite remember what it is all of the times, but we do and hope to get your support, because without you, we just won't make it. You get there, you can get to our book, How to Make America Utopia, which I'm on the I'm on the third chapter. But already online and complete is As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's a book that I've written that a lot of what I've talked about here, but here what I'm talking about live has been expanded some, but that book explains how the system works, and it explains in a very everyday language that you can really, 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 really understand. You can get the book at Amazon, or you can just subscribe to us and read it online. I would love for you to subscribe at patreon.com, patreon.com/politicsdoneright, or contribute at politicsdoneright.com. Folks, and of course I've spoken to you guys before about weight problems and my blood pressure problem, and I think I have that licked now, and I present that here, Lose Weight and Be Fit Now. That book kind of goes over the travails that I've had and how I've tackled it and how I think I've beat it. And notice, when I speak about weight loss and all of that, I don't speak in the absolute. I speak in the probability, and the probability is that given the amount of time that I've been this way now, that it is this is the sustainable way. So that I would urge you to also to take a look at that. Lose weight and be fit now. Say no to snake oil weight loss, because that really isn't the answer. That really isn't the answer. And by getting that book, you are supporting Politics Done Right. You are supporting what we do, which is we really try to enlighten folks. We really try to make folks, empower folks. And like I tell you, one thing is to complain about a system. The next thing is, wait, all we're going to do is complain about it? Is that all there is to it? And that's not why I gave up a company to do this. I didn't give up a company to do this just to complain. I gave up a company to do this not to be a blogger, not to be a journalist, but to be an activist journalist, an activist blogger. Why? I'm not only going to sit behind this screen, I'm going to be out there in the field. Well, not I am going to be, I have been out there in the field. You can find all the videos and see all the things that we've done over the years. And then notice I said over the years. I've given up my company for a long time. That's why I'm broke. But you take a look at this. I'm telling you, many of us have to do it. Earlier today, I had lunch with somebody who she is likely going to do it. I can't wait to see her do it. And many people are doing it. They're doing what's necessary to help us move forward. And what I have to ask you, what I have to urge you, what I have to implore you is support all these folks that are doing it, that are saying, you know what, I want to do better. I mean, a lot of people don't get that. There's some of us who really, we feel that we have the ability, we know that we have the ability to be a part of the movement to make things better. We need your support. The other side gets their support. The plutocracy pays well. And on times when our subscriptions are not there, on times when things don't go as well as you expect, on those times you sit back and you think, should I just go ahead and be the plutocrat? Should I just go ahead and throw one's hands up in the air and say, you know what, we're tried, but we don't necessarily get the support that we think, that we know we deserve, or we know we should be having, when we know we can just go out there and do a little, be the chosen of the plutocracy and get it done otherwise? But then you come back to earth and you say, hell no, you couldn't live with yourself, because you know what is right. Because you know what is right. So please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, patreon.com/politicsdoneright, and give your support to something that's going to make a difference. Folks, this is the end of the show. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. Love you guys. Love all of you. And you know how I end this show. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.